Municipals, it's Ashton here. Before we officially dive into this week's episode, I'm really honored and privileged to say that we wanted to let you guys know that we have a new title sponsor for the rest of this year and hopefully far beyond. Union Green. You've probably seen us wearing their gear, doing some giveaways, kind of partnering with them in an informal way. But as of this week's podcast, we are officially a partner with Union Green, and just a really big fan of kind of what they're doing. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about Union Green here, mainly because next week's podcast is going to be an exciting update as well. It'll be me, Big Chris, Jack, and then actually a new member of our team, Pax. We're going to talk about the things we have on deck for the remainder of this year, how Union Green fits in. It'll all kind of be explained on there. But I wanted to let you guys know about Union Green and how they've been supporting us. The long story short is essentially they really resonated with us. All things kind of public golf, accessibility, all things that we've been, hopefully in an enjoyable way, yelling about for the last couple of years here. And they approached us and have been simply amazing. Shout out Meredith. I mixed amazing and Meredith right there. And Meredith has been amazing to work with over at Union Green. So a couple quick things. We wanted to tell you we have a promo code, Municipals20. That's not case sensitive. So Municipals20, 20% off for your first order. The other thing I wanted to tell you is they have two different golf balls that are part of kind of the Union Green family. Right now, they're having a sale on the T-Birds. It's buy three, get one free for a T-Bird dozen, which brings it to $14.99 a dozen. And then if you use our code, again, Municipals20, you're getting 20% off of that, which brings it to $11.99 a dozen, which is wild for these golf balls. So go check out Union Green. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, which is a little bit of a mishmash talking how we're feeling about before going on our abandon trip, which is we're going to be talking about here soon. Kind of a Pasa Tiempo redux, because every time you play that place, it deserves to be talked about. And then I talked to Hussy a little bit about our recent round at Eagle Vines, which was my first time out there. So hope you guys enjoy. And then again, next week, excited to go deep on what's in the hopper for the Municipals this year and formally welcoming PAX to the crew. So with that, let's take it to Bryson.
How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, Municipals? This is Ashton and not Big Chris. We have other Chris Hussey. We have Nick, I guess Nick Bertese. I was going to just throw in Nick's last name here. But yeah, we're going to kind of do a chop session today. Nick was up recently and we played Poppy Hills. We're not going to talk about Poppy Hills because we've talked about that previously. But we also played Pasa Tiempo, which Chris and I have done a podcast on. We were very, very tired. And it just felt like it was time to kind of revisit it. So we're going to do that. We're also going to talk a little bit about, very quick at the end, about Eagle Vines. To be clear, not compare Eagle Vines to Pasa Tiempo. But to start off, I want to talk a little about Bandon. We are like 10 days away from our first ever full-blown Bandon trip. We've been planning and thinking and fantasizing about this trip for 15 months, and it's almost here. So before we get in there, I just want to say hello, Chris Hussey. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm about 2 beers in, and I'm feeling really good. So excited to talk Bandon, Pasa, and Eagle Vines for some reason.
Yeah, there you go. Have to sprinkle it in. Nick, how you doing?
Stone cold sober, but we've been worse. Happy to be here.
There we go. Cool. We're gonna lead off with Bandon. Nick, I know we've talked before. We talk every Monday for usually between 1 to 2 hours, more like 2. I know your feelings, but I just want to hear it. Like, we're 10 days out. How you feeling? Excitement level, preparation, just your raw thoughts on our trip and how you're feeling, my man.
I mean, just incredibly excited, right, as anybody else is. I think it's been a lot of fun preparing for this trip, like getting all the all the rain gear that we need, and I've been mentally packing my bag for the last month, trying to figure out exactly how many pairs of underwear and pairs of socks I'm going to need, and exactly what layers I'm going to need. Turns out I think we need a lot more layers given the weather that we're expecting. But it's been a long process, man. I mean, I think in terms of like mental preparation, I remember having a conversation with Jake, who's also going to be on this trip back in July of 2020 when we first got into golf, and he and I were. I remember we were in the car driving back to Atlanta, and the three of us were just listening to a podcast about it was the NLU podcast about Bandon, and just saying, "Oh man, we got to get there someday." And that was what 2.5 years ago, and here we are. So yeah, it's been a long time coming, and couldn't be more excited to get there.
Is there anything in particular that you're most excited for? I mean, obviously the golf, like, is there a course you're most excited to play, or are you just kind of doing all your prep and then just kind of going into it and ready to have the experience, or is there anything that's like super top of mind for you?
I think the meatloaf is the thing I'm most excited for.
That's to
That's
be
the thing
amazing.
I'm sort of waiting for, like with the most anticipation. But no, I think in terms of the courses, like I've read everything there is to read on these courses. I've watched all the fucking content that exists, listened to all the podcasts. Like I think I'm as prepared as possible, and I'm just excited to experience them all and make my own judgments after having played them. I'm trying to go in with this as much of a blank slate as possible, given all the research and preparation that we've done thus far.
Yeah, I know for me that there's been nothing quite as terrible in the past as when trying to consume bandit content and those pods. I get why they exist. But like, what is your dream 18 and being like, I, I can't really debate six at Trails versus six at Old Mac, and I'm excited to do that with you guys over some beers later. But yeah, I'm with you. Hussy, how about you, man? How you feeling? Game seems you ran into form a little bit. You've been playing some good golf, seems like.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like as soon as like November hits, my game just turns to shit because it's winter and being a gentleman from the tropics, I just don't know how to play golf in really cold. It's not cold, sorry. This is California. When it's like 50 degrees out, I just don't know what I'm doing, and that's leaving me a little not scared, but like I'm I'm excited for Bandit, but I know expectations golf wise are gonna not be as high as what I would want them to be if it was really nice out, 75 degrees on the coast. It's fine. I know it's gonna be hard. I know it's gonna be windy. I've been, practicing kind of playing golf in the wind, and I'll never forget and forgive this kind of side story. I'll never forget playing at La Purisima in Lompoc for the first time, and that place is known for being a really really difficult golf course because the wind is incredibly strong there. And I'll never forget on the 18th hole hitting like a stand wedge into the green and seeing my ball do a U-turn and start coming back towards me. I just realized I needed to learn how to hit a golf ball into the wind. And so from then on it was like, learning how to hit knockdowns, learning how to hit like a chip six. And I think that's going to come in handy once we get to Bandon because the weather doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look like it's going to be blue skies for us. So I'm excited. I'm also trying to keep my expectations pretty low from a performance perspective. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see those courses because, as Nick said, we've kind of OD'd on all the content, and now we really just need to show up and play.
Yeah, and I'm coming at it from a slightly different perspective, having gone. But the analogy that I've used to people is imagine going to Disneyland and walking through the entire park, and you get to ride Space Mountain, and then they say, "Hey, hope you had a lot of fun. It's time to go." And you're like, "Wait, but what about that ride? Like, what about what about that ride?" And it's like, "Oh no, like you're only here for one night. You only get to play two courses. Like, we need you to exit the property now." So it's like I've ridden Space Mountain, but I'm really excited to try the other Disney rides as well. But yeah, but Hussey, I actually texted this to Nick as well. Your text the other night that said, "I'm watching all Tiger shots from the final round 2005 Open at the Old Course. commentator goes after Tiger hits the flag stick and trundled off the green. His quote is, "The challenge of playing links golf is underneath it the curse is the unfairness of it." And you said, when we get to Bandon, we're going to get so boned so often by design. We can't get rattled by it. It's supposed to be unfair. And I think that we have been preaching now for pretty much the whole time we've done this podcast about how wonderful match play golf is. And I think what I'm most excited about, sure, to see the courses, but the way the formats are designed, we're not totally set on this, but I think we're going to do quota game, which the beauty of quota game is if you make 6 birdies or 7 birdies and make like quadruple bogeys, it doesn't, like, what you shoot doesn't matter. Each hole is its own individual challenge. And then, of course, match play. Huss and I played a 36-hole match yesterday, and we were saying it was good practice because we both got 3 data points, but it's like, cool, man, there's like 30 more holes of golf. And I'm really excited to experience, the fact that we have 5 courses together to see multiple times. But then to realize that, like, when you're at 6 at Bandon and you two are playing each other, that is the only thing that exists. And if Nick makes a 7 and Hussey makes an 8, it doesn't matter that you made a 7 or an 8. It's that you beat them on that hole. And that's what I'm excited for, is the totality of the experience, because it's kind of the anti-experience you had, Hussey, that we can talk about from Pasa last time, when you made like a 10 on 11 and like you were really trying to enjoy it, but your brain was short circuiting. Like, that's not going to happen on this trip by design. And I think that's something I'm pretty excited for.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hope that will be the case. After you recited that quote that I sent you, it makes me also think that if I do play like shit, I could just be like, no, 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 this is links golf. Links golf. Links golf is really hard. I don't suck. It's just the course. So if I start flailing and blaming the course and really talking shit about Tom Doak, well, that's probably not my fault.
Beautiful. Any other Bandon thoughts, guys, or should we move to Pasa Tiempo? Okay, on to Pasa. Same thing. We're just going to go around. Nick, I want you to go first because I have now played it 3 times. Hussey has played it twice. I know it's been another place in anticipation, but just would love we actually really haven't got to talk about this yet. Just your overall thoughts. We'll dive in on specifics, but just tell me about your day, our day there.
Oh man, it was incredible. I think when we woke up that morning, you said something in the hotel. I'm like, holy shit! Like, I can't believe that we're about to go play Pasa Tampa. Like, it hasn't even hit me yet. And in my mind, I was like, okay, like, I know I've been excited for this course too, but like, yeah, it's a nice golf course. And I think I had no frame of reference for what what we were about to go play, and you did, and that's why you were that excited and that exuberant, and that's why I don't know. I was just normal excited. But it was pretty incredible, man. I mean, the whole experience, the clubhouse is super great. The people are very friendly. And the course itself is just, it's unbelievable. I was having a conversation with my wife when I got home, and she was asking me about the whole experience at Pasa Tiempo, and I said, yeah, it's like the greatest golf course I've ever played by a lot, like by a lot, by a lot. And she said, oh, well, tell me about it. Like, can we watch like a YouTube video that will describe it? I was like, yeah, we can totally watch that. And I'd be happy to sit here and listen to all the podcasts and watch all the YouTube videos about Pasa Tiempo, but you're still not going to get a great feel for like why I felt so overtaken by the course itself. I mean, it's just, I remember walking off there, and for the next like 48 hours, it was all I could think about. It's the kind of course that sticks with you like none other has. The green complexes are incredible. The holes themselves, the routing, I mean, everything about it. It's just, it's a kind of course that after walking away, I can't stop thinking about it. And I've never had that experience before. That's a pretty unique experience.
This podcast is not supposed to be me just like reading text messages, but I actually, I mean, I screenshot what you sent me where you said this was the day of, and you said, I still am not able to fully verbalize how incredible that course is. I knew it would be good, but I had no idea what that meant. I've never seen anything like it, not even close. Poppy and Sweetens are special courses, but Pasa makes them look like River Pines, which we love River Pines, but that's sort of where Nick and I I fell back in love with golf. Nick learned golf, and River Pines is great, but it's just a muni in suburban Atlanta. Um, Back to Nick. It hardly even feels like the same sport. It's like playing basketball on a court on the moon. Is the hoop still 6 feet high? Are the rules the same? Sure, but it's a massively different game and a massively different experience. How am I supposed to joy around in Balboa after this? I've now seen the Sistine Chapel. Everything else might as well be an etch a sketch. Like that's really really well put. I mean, no, that's the hard part. Is like it's sort of you go play like we played Huss and I played Chardonnay yesterday. We were saying these green complexes are crazy, but it ruins your frame of reference for every other golf course because yeah, they're crazy, but like they're not Paso, right? It's an entirely unique experience that you again, we've watched all the YouTube videos. You can't understand until you see it. So Hussey, how is this was your second time. How did it differ now that you've seen it once and kind of going back a second time?
How it differed is that I I had a better frame of reference approaching different holes in the sense that you get onto a green and you look at it and you're like, wow, that breaks a lot. And you aim, 2 feet left of the hole. And in reality, you should have aimed 4 feet left of the hole because while the green sure looks slopey, you don't fully realize that the entire hole is on a incredibly high grade. I mean, it's sloped. The green is sloped, and then the hole is sloped even further. And so it's something that you don't get used to unless you play on courses that have a lot of kind of elevation and holes that are built into the side of hills or uphill or downhill. And this second time playing, I was able to really overcompensate in a good way for those putts. I mean, I think about 18 and 18, the green slopes, incredibly hard back to front over the Barranca. Um, and left back to front, but also back left to front right. And if I had played the first time and I had a putt that I had from below the hole, I would have aimed it 2 feet out left, and I aimed it out 4 feet left, and it sure enough like trickled in. And I think that's the one thing, Nick, as you played there for the first time, could probably attest to, like the scale and just how much more turned up the entire course is. You don't even expect it until you're actually on the greens and you're actually putting that like, holy shit, these things are like out of this world. It's on the moon. I mean, it's unlike anything you've ever put on. And I still am flabbergasted by every single hole out there. Nothing is easy and everything is a challenge. And I think the next time I play there, I'm gonna get my mind blown again. So, yeah, I have dreams and nightmares about that course.
I think you mentioned something about the scale being on a whole different level, and it's true. Like you think about the elephants back on 16, right, or the Barranca on 14. Those are elements like of golf course architecture that I've never seen anywhere else, not even close. But it's also like the scale of the reveals too, and a lot of those reveals happen around the greens. I'm thinking specifically about number five, where um, Hussey, you hit your approach, it's a par three, number five, you hit your tee shot short of the hole, short of the pin, and it looked pretty good. And as you get close to the green, you realize that this green is like massively stretched. I mean, I don't 80 yards back to front, 70 yards back to front, and from the tee, you just can't see that. And there's that bunker off in the distance on next to the tee. Actually, Ashton hit into this from the tee on six. That from the tee on five, it looks like it's a bunker that's right behind the green on number five. Ashton hit the drive of his life into that bunker. But it's visual camouflage, right? Like it's just the reveals in that way. As you get close to the greens, you start to understand the scale that isn't necessarily it's hard to take that in as you're standing on the tee on a lot of especially the par threes, but also standing in the fairway on the fours and fives. And then as you approach the greens, like the bunkers, the green complexes, they swallow you up sometimes, man. It's wild out there.
Yeah, I don't think Alistair McKenzie had it in his head on 6 that you should top your 3 wood essentially into that bunker. That's yeah, that was not certainly not the best hole, but yeah, I think that's how I felt too. I mean, that this was my third time, and it's just it's so crazy because again, for like Nick, it was like he's seen it on his TV screen, but had never seen it in person. And then it's like I've seen it in person twice, and like it's still. I think you said it best, Nick. It's the scale of it, and it's also the scale of it on what feels like a relatively small piece of property. Like y'all can kind of fact check me on that. I don't actually know how big the property is. I'm just sort of saying gut feel. It doesn't feel very big, but I think I want to credit this because I mean this is not an original take, but that's like what Solly says when they play there. Is he said you play a lot of courses where you come back and unfortunately it feels smaller because you know it, right? It feels familiar and it feels smaller. And he said every time he's been back to Pasta, it actually feels bigger. And I think that's certainly how it feels because it feels like a tight piece of property, and you get on some of those greens and you're just like, or really it's like really the first 3 holes, right? It's like one is it's from the tee we played one up, it wasn't that long, but like it feels like that fairway is like 600 yards long, and then the pin is in the back right, and it's super not accessible, and then 2, the entire fairway is working away from you, and then 3 is like the hardest golf hole ever, which we all hit really good shots at the 3, but it just starts off like 1, 2, 3, where it's like wow, like the scale of this place is nuts. Like I've played a lot of par threes. I've never seen a par three like number 3. And it's just like, where are we? Like, where are we playing golf? And that's where I think the moon analogy is huge because like we play a lot of golf courses that feel relatively similar. And Pasta Tiempo, the more golf that I play, the more it kind of feels truly unique.
And to sort of piggyback on that, the point you made that it's not a very long course. I think it tips out at like 6,500 or something. It's not that long. So even though it feels huge, the holes you're playing aren't that long. It's just the features are massive and hit you and punch you in the mouth again and again and again.
Yeah, I, I, I mean, if you go on like Google Maps and you do like an aerial view of Paso Tiempo, you look at it and you're like, it's kind of claustrophobic. It's kind of tight. I mean, there's homes everywhere. When you think about it, they're everywhere. And the scale, though, it seems bigger because there's depth, there's texture. You're going in and up and down. I mean, I think about hole 8, the par 3 that is elevated tee box down kind of a little ravine to a green that is severely back to front. But when you're on that tee box, it doesn't look like that green is that severe back to front. Like you feel like you can land it in the middle of the green and it'll just stay right there. But if you land in the middle of the green, it's just going to come off the front. But it's so deceptive because I think about Poppy Hills, and I know this is not a Poppy Hills conversation, but for context, the Poppy Hills hole number 8, that is a dogleg right, but the approach shot is downhill, and the green looks kind of like it's back to front, like there's a backstop. But because that the entire hole is downhill, there is actually no backstop. It just keeps going, even though deceptively you think there's a backstop. With Pasa, it was the opposite. I felt like I didn't have a backstop on that 8th hole, despite the fact that the green, like there was, and it's that texture and that depth and that change in elevation, even on the holes that you're currently on, that really makes that course feel a lot bigger than it really is.
Yeah, and I think the light bulb came on because we never did a pod the second time we played it, but we played there last summer for Hussy's bachelor party. It was me, Hussy, Jack, and our buddy JD. And I think a real light bulb moment for me was watching JD play that course because, for context, again, JD's like a 2 handicap. He's the best golfer I've ever played with, and
+2
also
handicap.
yeah, is that what I said? Did I say 2?
Yeah, you said 2. Yeah, no,
sorry,
he's
JD.
+2.
Trust me, we could abandon your asses all the shots, motherfucker. That's all I can say.
But watching JD play that place where, JD hits it a mile, really good player, and off so many greens, he would walk off and kind of like look backwards and would have this like not frustrated, but like you could just see his mind going in a way that, like, again, we play a lot of golf, but a lot of, us are trying to like play courses back and stuff, because a lot of golf we play in the Bay Area tends to be like flat. If you're playing the wrong tee, it's a lot of like flat driver wedge. Can you make a putt? Which is fine, but it doesn't make you think a lot. And Pass is a place where watching a player who is fundamentally better than me go around there and like just Allison McKenzie just has his brain in a pretzel. And even when we're having a beer after, he's like, okay, so like, when are we coming back here? Like, okay, so like, we're like, it's kind of expensive. He's like, well, if we budget this, and this, because he wants another crack at it because of the complexity. Like, that was just fun, right? Like watching someone who is such a good player who hits it a mile. Nick, to your point, who's playing, we played it back, but I mean, it's 6,500 yards for a guy who just murders the golf ball and shoots 78 and is just like tearing apart the scorecard in his hands. That was really eye-opening to me to watch him last time. It really is a place, it's like, oh, I'd love another crack at this place. But Pass is probably the best example of, I don't know that it's a course I'd want to play every day because it'd be really hard. But to really learn those slopes and intricacies of that place would be really, really special. But as we've all kind of said, it's just like a once-a-year golf course, right? It's like, we live close enough. You have to go. It's important. It feels like to your point, Nick, I was trying to explain it to Liz, and I was like, it's kind of hard to, because, compared to the Mona Lisa. Well, no offense to the art people. I'm sure they're not listening to this podcast, but you just go look at the Mona Lisa. Right? Okay, cool. Like, very, very cool. But like, we get to like play the Mona Lisa, right? Like that's the hard part, where it's like we get to go and experience that, actually like spend 4.5 hours with the Mona Lisa, which sounds weird in context. I don't know. It's just, I think it's a place you can play 50 times. We're going to feel this way each and every time, right?
Totally. I can't wait to get back there. Are you making the point that you think sports brings people together in a way that art doesn't? Because I think that's a prescient point to bring up when you're using those examples. I do think, though, that, yeah, I mean, it's the kind of place I would fly up to visit you guys once a year and play once a year. I mean, it's that incredible. I can't wait to get back there. We'll need a budget for it, but I can't wait to get back there. I couldn't keep my driver on the planet this time around, and I'd love to get back there with a controllable driver. Also, one point I want to make about the course and Mackenzie's brilliance that I didn't realize at the time, but apparently, as you play the course, like, he camouflages his bunker so that if you are walking past a fairway bunker and you see the bunker as you're walking towards it, you turn around once you get past it, and he camouflages it so you can't actually see it once you're past these bunkers. That's not something I fully appreciated at the time, so I'd love to get back there and walk backwards up some fairways and see the bunkers disappear. So, yeah, can't wait to get back there.
Boy, are there some bunkers at Paso Tiempo.
It'd be kind of cool to like just do a walk before a round there, where you just walk the entire course backwards, just to get a feel for it. I know, like, I think there's some Formula One drivers who like walk a track backwards just to like see it from a different perspective before they actually tackle the course, or the racetrack, excuse me. But that talk about Mona Lisa kind of made me think about, when you're swimming in the ocean and you're like trying to body surf and catch some waves, like you'll look out kind of like in the distance and you'll see kind of like I think that looks like kind of like a big wave. And as it gets closer and closer to you, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And before you know it, it's like double overhead and you're like fucked. I feel like a lot of the bunkers and a lot of what we experienced at Paso Tiempo was like that. Like, I remember on the 9th hole, I'm like, oh, cool. I can, hit my, second shot, try and get on the green, have a putt for eagle. And I put it in the left bunker. And as I'm getting closer and closer to this bunker, the lip of the bunker just gets higher and higher and higher. And you just feel suffocated. And that's just another, attribute that to the the elevation change. So I don't know if that's similar to the Mona Lisa. I remember seeing it once, and from afar it looked kind of boring, and up close it looked kind of boring. So I don't know if it's the same thing, unfortunately. Sorry about that analogy, Ashton.
I felt the same about the bunkers. I got swallowed alive on 16. I had to pick up my ball because I fanned my approach into the bunker on the most famous hole in the course, the hole I was most excited about playing, and couldn't even putt out. Just got absolutely swallowed by that hole and those bunkers. So they totally get what you're saying, Chris. I think the wave analogy is absolutely right. You walk up and you're in it, and it's double overhead, and you're fucked.
Well, the first two times I played 16, my scores were DNF, DNF. So I think there's something about that hole that just. I mean, seriously, this is not a haha, look what I did, but I birdieing 11 and parring 16, were just honestly will probably be the thrills of my golf year. It was holy shit. I almost didn't finish 11 both the first times. Definitely didn't finish 16 both the other two times, and so it's to get up there and be like, okay, I have 130 yards. I have to land it on this tier. If I don't take off some spin, it's going to suck all the way back. If I miss it to the right, it's gone. If I miss it to the left, I'm fucked. And I'm in the middle of the fairway, and I could easily DNF this hole from 130. That's where 16 is just such a unique challenge that you're never going to have. Or you have a pitching wedge, and you could make a 3, and you could make a 13, and it just there's no forgiveness there in a way that's really really fun. Were there any we don't have to do favorite hole, but were there any themes or things that you guys wanted to talk more about? Because I'll volunteer one. I was texting Nick about this with you. Obviously they're all amazing, but what really really stood out to me this time, the par threes are fucking awesome. The whole course is great, but really 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 looking at the par threes, they're just really really special. I mean, they're all incredibly different. Not to go through all of them, but to juxtapose two very different ones. Number 3 for us, I think, was 190 yards, and I think for us, for context, we were playing one tee up, and that tee was as close to the front of the tee box as possible. The pin was all the way in the front. So again, if you're playing the back tees to a back flag, it's like a 235-yard shot with just bunkers everywhere. So that's I think I hit a grown man 5-iron. Nick, you hit 4. We all hit you're hitting a long iron into a very, very, very challenging hole. But then you compare that to 15, right? Where it's this again, this is another scale thing. It feels like that green is the size of your pinky finger. There's nothing there. The wind, and I hit the wrong club. I hit gap wedge. It ended up in the front bunker. Didn't get it up and down. I think the right play was a pitching wedge, but it's just so interesting where to have number 3 that's this super super hard challenging long iron green you cannot even see, and then the second to last par 3 you play is a pitching wedge or a gap wedge to this deceptively propeller shaped angular green. And then although the fun part is all the other par 3s are a little bit different, right? I don't think you hit any. It's all different clubs. It's all different. It's just the par 3s ask 5 very different questions of pasta tiempo, and that's not something I process until this time. And you get off 18, and it's what an incredible set of holes. Just those par 3s really 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 set. So that's what I mean by theme. Where it's I didn't notice that till this time, but the par 3s really, really stood out to me on my third time around here.
100%. That's the best collection of That's the best collection of holes, period. But best collection of par 3s I've ever played. Which isn't a huge statement, but unbelievable. I mean, 3 might be the best hole in the property, and that's one that, as you mentioned, that's going to sit with me personally forever. I mean, that 4-iron I hit on 3 to hit the green was the best shot I had all day. So, and then I guess the other best shot I had all day was on the green on 18 to win the match or to have the match. So, definitely gonna remember those par 3s. Chris knows. Yeah, but it's not just them though. I mean, it's all the fucking holes, all of them, and it's. I think what stands out for me is the feeling I remember standing on the tee at 10. I thought at that point, I'd seen 9 holes, I'd seen 9 green sites. I sort of understood the look and the feel of what the course was going to be, I thought. And then you stand on the tee and 10, looking at that tee shot over a barranca into a blind landing zone over a hill, and you're just like, holy shit, what am I getting myself into? It's one of the most thrilling tee shots I've ever had up to that point. And then you get, I don't know, you get on 14, that's thrilling. 16's also a thrilling tee shot. Um, it
11's like the
uh,
scariest tee shot I've ever hit.
yeah, that one didn't bother me as much, but yeah, it's like it's to borrow a term, the back nine is a fucking electric factory, and it just hits you one after the other, after the other, after the other. And the big difference, I think, between the front and the back, the green complexes are very similar, 16 notwithstanding. Um, it's the holes themselves, like the fours and the fives, and the features that you play over and through and under on the back nine are just unlike anything else I've ever played, and easily the best stretch of 9 holes I've ever played in my life. So I don't know how many other ways can we say that we love something? It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the back nine, they definitely turn the volume up. Just crank it a little bit more, crank it a little more. The branca's a little bit deeper, a little bit wider. The holes are a little higher up in elevation or lower in elevation. They're a little more fast because they're just a little more slopey. I mean, it's like a gradual progression into the like 18 is the crescendo, right? It's like boom, like can you just hit a 150-yard 9 iron? It's perfect. I mean, it's a perfect course. But I think shit. Should we talk about 11? I mean, well. I'll talk about 11. Fuck. I mean, first time I played, I made a 10, and it was probably the one time I think Ashton called me short circuit because I just did not know how to like think after that because it's not something I've had to deal with personally. It's the most expensive round of golf ever, and how do you square that with playing well and enjoying yourself? And that's probably says more about me than it does about the golf course. But I think 11, the tee shot is not that difficult when you think about it. In the grand scheme of things, if you just take out the branca and take out everything else out, as Nick's saying, didn't really freak you out that much. You just got to hit it straight. That's okay. I mean, like that's not the hard part. The hard part is your second shot, where the further up and the further right you are, the more slope you have to deal with, and it just makes it very uncomfortable. Like for me, I hit mine dead center, but pretty high up on that fairway, and I had to aim more left than up, and therefore my ideal line would have been right of the green, and I was just not comfortable doing that. So I pulled mine, and it was close to those bunkers on the left. But making par on that hole after making a 10 the first time, I feel cleansed. I feel ready to take on the world, really. So I love that hole, and I do have dreams and nightmares still.
Yeah, that was one where, Nick, that's not meant to shoot you in the face, but it was funny where it's like when you were putting and your ball got halfway to the hole and you started to walk up and the ball's rolling back down to your feet. I looked at Rick and I was like, I think this hole is just it's baptized by blood the first time you play it. I don't know what I only played it 3 times, but like I don't remember what JD did, but like you shot yourself in the face, Hussey shot himself in the face, I shot myself in the face. Big Chris, the world's greatest putter. I mean, he did what you did, but he kind of got sassy and put like his hands on his hips, like like the golf course had just suddenly decided to speed up the greens right there, and it was just so funny because everyone makes that face on like your face, like you weren't mad, but you were like, "Wait, are you fucking kidding me? This ball's this ball's this ball's gonna come all the way back from the putting," and like it was just it's not fun to watch your friends struggle, but it's sort of almost like you're just gonna make a bad score in 11 the first time you play it. Apparently, like it's just it's what you do. I don't know, and it was really thrilling because I was kind of standing up on the hill just to watch. I can't even articulate this. This is an audio video medium, but like watching the ball move around that green is unlike anything I've ever seen. Like Hussey, your chip you played it like it was yours, right? You played it way up to the left, and it's like, and I remember you hit it. And I was like, that feels way up there, and Rick was like, that is not high up, high up enough, and it just it's like a mag. It's like back in Space Jam when they're kind of like moving it around at the golf ball with the magnet. Like that's how it feels, you know. And Nick, your shot, for example, too. I remember you chipped it. You chipped it, and again, I'm not making fun of you. The way you chipped it, you kind of turned around, and the second you chipped it, I saw Orlando said, "Oh my God, that might roll off the front of you." You when you chipped that, you had no concept in your mind that ball could do that, and suddenly the ball is just trundling off the front of the green, and it's just it's unbelievable to watch. Like all of this course is turned up to 11, but the green on 11 is just superlative in the way that it just makes mincemeat of everybody. Like my ball was an inch from the hole, but like who knows where that ball landed? That ball could have landed anywhere to end up there. It probably didn't land next to the hole, right? I almost certainly did not because of how crazy that green is.
And I think the point you made too, it's not just that the green is crazy that makes that hole so hard. It's the questions that McKenzie's asking you, both on your tee shot and on your approach. I had a nice tee shot, really happy with it. Probably my best tee shot of the day, maybe. Um, but I was in the middle of the fairway and I had to cross the barranca, and the pin was in the back, which means I had to take on a lot of the barranca if I wanted to get close to the pin, and I wasn't comfortable with that. And so I aimed left, and I hit a really good shot, but I played it very safe, and I paid the price. I overshot the green on the left, ended up above the bunkers that were above the green, and I got fucked. I mean, I had, there's no way I was keeping that ball on the green. So with the chip, so like you're gonna have to deal with the hazards on that hole at some point, whether it's on your second shot or your first shot if you have a drive that can go that way. But you're gonna have to take on the hazard at some point, and I wasn't comfortable doing it on the second shot, and I paid the price, and I think I made an 8 on that hole. So, it's not just that the green is crazy; it's that the strategy about the hole is brilliant, and I think next time I'll either lay up or trust my 7-iron to go straight and not fan it right. But yeah, it's brilliant hole.
Yeah, and also good, obviously not saying Pasa is preparation for Bandon, but it is the reminder of, I've been reading the book about Bandon, listening to the pods, and especially when it comes like Pack Dunes, it's a good reminder to us. Andy Johnson's always talking about, especially at Pack Dunes, it's like, hey, there's going to be a good side and a bad side. There's going to be one where like a super easy tee shot down the left, but then you're going to have to pay the toll at some point. And we're about to go have not every course, like Sheep Ranch is kind of what's in front of you, but especially Pack Dunes is going to be okay, guys are warmed up. You've been out here. Who knows what the weather looks like? And on every hole, it's going to be like, we're going to have to look at each other and be like, so are we going to pay the toll now, or are we going to wait a little bit? Because that's the genius of good architecture, like what Doak is so well known for. Of at some point, we're going to have to pay the toll. That's a great example, Nick, because totally like, you hit it over on the right and it feels safe. And then it's like, okay, cool. Now let's hit a 180-yard shot clearing the barranca, and you're just not comfortable. And there's a million ways to make a million different numbers there. Do you guys have, I know it's hard to isolate, but do you have a favorite hole or a hole that really stands out to you? Again, I know it's an annoying question to ask, but is there one hole this time through playing that really kind of stands out to you?
I think the easier question. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry. The hole that stands out to me is 17. And it's not because it's my favorite hole, and it's not because I think it's the worst hole. I actually think it's probably one of the hardest holes because you got OB all down. It's very hard, and it doesn't get recognition because it doesn't have any greenside bunkers, but it doesn't need to because it's got all that OB along the left, which a lot of people are prone to going OB left. And then it's that green site. There's still OB all along the left, and then kind of the barranca behind it, and then there's a big sharp drop off with the barranca on the right. So it's kind of like horseshoed in, and it's a very long, slender green, and it's just not a fun hole. And I think that, like the first time I played, 11 was kind of keeping me up all night afterwards. 17 is the one that's kind of in my head now. That's kind of bugging me. Like, how am I going to play that hole next time I get out there? Because you have to you have to you have to pay the toll there. You have to go through it. You have to play it. And how do you get from 16, which blows your mind, to 18, which will blow your mind, through this really, really hard fucking hole? And I don't know the right way to do it. So that stands out to me as a hole that doesn't get a lot of love. And I'm not saying I love it. I'm saying I don't know what to do there, and I can't wait to go back.
I think it's hard to choose one, but you mentioned the par threes. You could easily pick any one of those five. Not a wrong answer. 11, 14, and 16 are the three best two-shot holes I've ever played. Pick one of them. They're all, in my mind, they're equally brilliant. Um, I find it really difficult to answer that question. I think the easier question to answer is like what holes don't measure up to the rest. I think there's maybe 1 and 9 and maybe 7. But outside of that, uh, I mean, they're all fucking spectacular.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one that stood out to me this time, just because playing different tees, 14. Also, I think a good example of tees and difficulty, because we played that hole last time from the back tees, and this time I actually paused and was like, "Holy shit! Like that is the back tees are like it's a different hole from back there." And sure enough, the first two times we've played there, I hit it in the Barranca, and both times I hit it, I think in the exact same spot in the front right bunker, hit it on and two putted, made bogey, and just both times was like the pitching wedge in my hand, and I hit in the front bunker. But like, it's like, yeah, man, like you can't see the hole, the lie's all weird, and like it's your fault. Like you could have gone to the right, and this time we played it up. Hussey and I both hit our drive like past the Branca, and had a 12 foot like a birdie. It was a pretty easy hole, right? It's like, but it just made me think about like we're distance, and also too like this is not meant to be a distance debate, but thinking about you know I don't think McKenzie in 1929 was thinking about five handicaps with forgiveness drivers and Pro V1Xs. Like we weren't even thinking about the Branca, and we're not like good golfers, right? It's just kind of funny to think about like if you roll the ball back 20 yards, that Branca's back in play regardless of where you are. So I don't know. That hole just like they all got me thinking. But 14, it was just like last time I thought I hit a really good drive, which I think like caught the Branca, rolled down, make what I felt like was a bad bogey, and then this time just full send over the Branca, almost make birdie. Don't even think about it. But I was like, oh, again, a lot of times like tees feel like there's no thought, right? It's like here's the blue tee, and then 5 feet forward there's the white tee, and it's like this isn't asking any different question. It's just I don't even know, honestly. Sometimes the tee boxes don't make it, like we'll be like let's play it back because it's almost the same, and that hole is very much like it's asking two different questions from the back tee and the forward tee, and I appreciated that. But similar to y'all, I mean, it's really hard. I mean, one hole I think that I know it's like very straightforward, but I also really like 12. I like that 12 is sort of it feels a little more handshaky, but also very necessary after 11, kind of hitting it down the hill. You can kind of see the tee shots on 13. Not a super hard hole. I mean, I know that the issue is if you go left, but I sort of appreciated the gentle handshake of 12 leading into kind of the par five, where it's like, okay, like 10 and 11 are going to be hard. 12 and 13, you kind of make up a little ground. 14, all kind of depends. 15, deceptive. 16, hard. 17, hard. 18, hard. And Hussey, actually, you talking about, it's funny to make fun of myself. You're like, 18's like, can you hit 150-yard 9-iron? Like, I hit 100% the shot I wanted to hit. Will hold off 8-iron on the back, and then proceeded to like 4 or 5 putt. I don't even know. Like I got so scared by putting it that like I didn't get it to the hole twice. And I think again Andy said this on the pod, but such a good match play hole, which is what we were playing it as, right? It's like I was like, okay, Nick's in for a fucking 3-net 2. I need to like make this putt down the hill. And I have 30 feet and I hit it like 7 feet down the hill. And it's like, oh, God damn it. But such a great hole. Such a great match play hole.
Yeah, I think you can get a lot of trouble on that green. I think when I was hitting that, my first putt, I had, I don't know, 30 or 35 feet. My whole goal with that putt was just keep it on the same shelf as the pin. Like, just, I don't care where it is, just keep it on. I played 8 feet of break, which I've never done before. And it's a good finishing hole for, especially for a par three. And personally, making par there, it left me with a good taste in my mouth because I had a really rough ball striking day. But to end with a par there with the match ending the way it did, yeah, makes me all the more excited to get back there and play again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 18. Yeah, it's the perfect match play hole to end on because who knows what's going to happen. But it's also like if your match is over, it's such a fun hole. Like to just like, all right, this is it. One shotter. Like, let's throw $10 down close to the pin. Like, let's have a good time. Like that's like a good party hole too. At the same time, it's kind of like that 19th hole at whatever Cafe Valley or whatever. The one in Missouri, the Tiger
Haynes Valley, yeah.
Haynes Valley. Excuse me.
What'd you call it?
Cape Valley. That's a wine growing region.
Cafe Valley?
Cape, Capay. It's all right. Yochadehi. It's the valley north of Yochadehi. If you keep going on that road, that's Cape Valley. So that's a wine growing region. Obviously, you can see where my mind is at right now, thinking about wine. So
seriously,
Paynes Valley. Excuse me. It's kind of like a party hole. It's like the 19th at Paynes Valley. So
yeah, I bet Alistair McKenzie would love if he saw Paynes Valley.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna get roasted.
No, it's all good. That's all good. I know where you're coming from. I know where you're coming. And we should also just say too, we've said this in the past, but like Nick said, staff there is super friendly. The members like feel like they want you out there. Our breakfast burritos were super good, and they were like $11. The Bloody Marys are awesome. They're $10. The merch is fairly priced. Like, yes, you're going to pay a lot for the golf, but the starter was super friendly. I mean, it's just the biggest thing is just get there 2.5 hours early, make a day of it. You've already budgeted for the golf, and just enjoy it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think being on that first tee with you guys and talking to the starter and getting your handful of just classic kind of white wood Pasatiempo tees and knowing you're about to have a day, it's like, I think it's like the best first tee feeling I've ever had on a golf course.
And I think we should make the point too that it is expensive, and thank goodness for our buddy Rick, we got a decent deal on it too. But you can play it, and I think that's you can get on. Anybody can get on, and that's a really important point to me.
It's easy to get a tee time.
It is, and to get a tee time at a golf course of that caliber with that architect, it basically doesn't exist, right? We can't go and walk up and play Augusta. We can't go walk up and play Cypress. Both courses by Mackenzie. Augusta less so these days, but we can't go and play those courses. We can't go and play Pasatiempo, and it's but it's like that. This course is just as important, and I think architecturally stands up with the other two, and conditioning is probably very, very close, if not equal to those other two. And we have the ability to go play that. That's pretty special, and credit to the Pasatiempo membership for keeping this open and publicly available for guys like us to go and have a good time, because we'll probably never play Augusta National. We'll probably never play Cypress. And so being able to go experience like the very best that Mackenzie has, that's really special. It's special in and of itself. So definitely worth whatever it costs you to get on there. It's worth it. Yeah.
And the only thing I'll say, and this is not us reporting, this is not a scoop. We're not scoopers over here. But someone asked us, we played at someone new yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, I heard that after the restoration, we're going to take that place back to fully private." And I was like, "Where did you hear that? Because I haven't heard that. I hope that's not true. I'm not reporting. I think that was, hopefully he was misinformed, but I certainly hope that after the restoration, that is not the case, because I think the charm of the place is the fact that anybody can play it. I think that's actually what makes that place really, really special."
Yeah, that really That better not happen. Oh, that would.
We don't even have to talk about it. I'm just saying, like, I
Uh,
heard that and like my blood went cold because, like, for the context, the reason we made this happen, we wanted this to happen was they're starting the restoration in April. So I wanted Nick to get to see it before. Obviously, we'll hopefully see it after.
yeah.
But I just wanted Nick to see it as it was before because they're going to tear apart one nine and then the other. So the golf course isn't going to be back to what it's supposed to be till like 2025, I believe. And so I just wanted Nick to get it in all its glory. But no, I don't think that's going to happen. But let's pray to all the golf gods that. To your point, Nick, I think it is the only publicly accessible, you know, true Alistair McKenzie, I believe, in the
Sharp
world.
Park,
I
baby.
think.
Sharp,
What
Sharp
about
Park,
Sharp
baby.
Park, right? You guys are
Oh
San Francisco
God,
boys. You guys should know
Come
that.
on. Sharp Park. It's got
And
such good bones.
who wants to
North.
play some Plinko? Oh, I'm actually here to play golf. Don't bait me into this. Get the fuck out of here. Why are we doing
Northwood?
this?
Also
Northwood.
Northwood. I just want to mention Northwood too. Yeah, that's an important one.
Yeah,
Sharp Park.
oh, stop it. Stop it. I love Northwood. I'm not a bad guy. Although usually the bad guys are the guys who don't say they're not a bad guy. So
All right, you know what you need to do, Ashton, and for anyone out there, go and listen to Billy Horschel talking shit about the Chambers Bay Greens 2015 U.S. Open, and just think about Sharp Park, and it's the exact same criticisms. Go and
okay.
listen to it. It's hilarious.
Slimy?
Not so slimy, but like Plinko. Yeah, straight up Plinko.
Oh, Hussy. Hussy. uh, okay. Well, any parting thoughts on Pasatiempo, Bandon, any of those kind of two topics? Nick, anything from you?
Yeah, just that if you get the opportunity to play Pasatiempo, it's worth the money. Period. Go do it. If you're into golf and you're into golf course architecture, it's like it's unlike anything else, unlike anything else you've ever played, and it's worth whatever they're charging to get on there and play. So go do it.
A tradition unlike any other. That's what we say. Hello, friends. Well, Nick, thank you.
God.
We're gonna do a little Eagle Vines. But thank you for coming on, and we will see you in North Bend, or actually, we'll see you in San Francisco Airport as you connect through very very soon. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah. See you in a couple weeks. Toodles.
See ya.
Bye, Nick.
Okay, Hussy. So the perfect transition from Bandon to Pasa to Eagle Vines. We don't have to make this long, but I just wanted to kind of get you've played it once, I believe. Yeah, just like tell me a little bit about like your experience. Like I've the first 8 holes I'm still thinking about. So just tell me a little about your overall thoughts of Eagle Vines.
Overall thoughts on Eagle Vines are that, like you were just saying, the first 8 holes are actually, they're actually a really good set of golf holes. I think I don't know this for a fact, but it feels different than the latter, what is it, 10 holes? Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that has something to do with the fact that it used to be the same, kind of there were 3 9s when Chardonnay, which is right next door, and Eagle Vines were the same golf course and they had 3 9s. I think they split apart and they built another set of holes to create 2 complete golf courses. So you get out there at the first 8 holes, definitely different, definitely just a different style, much harder than the back 9 or the back 10. And I think that's where, quote unquote, the design by Johnny Miller comes from, is definitely those front 8.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I really didn't know what to expect. I mean, I've played Chardonnay 4 or 5 times. Like, really love Chardonnay. Had never played Eagle Vines, but um, yeah, the first 8 holes. I mean, you said it exactly right. Like a true test of golf. I mean, number one is. I mean, I don't know that number one is actually that hard if you play it the right way. But number one's like a par 5 with just like there's water. There's just water everywhere. I think the best way to describe it is I don't think that Eagle Vines is super hard for me and you as five handicaps. Not that we're amazing, but like we know generally where our golf ball is going. When I played Eagle Vines, and honestly, kind of Chardonnay again, I'm like, dude, if you're like a 15, 16 handicap and you have no clue, like, and you really don't know where your driver's going, like, if you actually, like, he would say this if he's on here, he's gone now, but you like Nick's driving day at Pasta Tiempo where the ball is just kind of going everywhere, you're going to shoot like 110 at Eagle Vines. Like, it's just completely unforgiving. But I will say, I mean, I think that like it's very beautiful. Conditioning was wonderful. I mean, I'm just lucky. I've been playing. We didn't talk about this. We maybe will at some point. I played Coronado with Nick down in San Diego, and I hit a wedge into the first green, and I just hear a wedge from 100 yards. I hear this like thump, and I was like, I'm just not used to that, right? Like it had been, quote unquote, raining a little bit in San Diego, but I'm not used to hitting wedges that thump on the greens. And these greens they were like, I would say that they were firm. I wouldn't say they were fast, but they were firm and fast enough, right? But I thought that was great and also a little bit misleading because with how firm the greens were, our speed was off because when they were that hard physically, you think they're going to be just like lightning and they weren't. But I think for a public golf course, that's a perfect way to do it, right? Like firm greens with like reasonable putting speed. I was like, this is a very cool test of golf. And again, hard. And I'm not sure I'd want to play it if I was a 20 handicap with a bad slice. But again, I've been like thinking about especially the first 8 holes. And I should say, yeah, I mean the back nine's a little sleepy. I think our comp was to it kind of feels like Napa version of Foxtail North, which is like not my favorite golf course. But I actually really enjoyed it. And there's some really, I mean, like there's a par three that's like kind of stupid, but like really fun. This like island par three with like bridges and like moats essentially. But like a very memorable golf course. And again, we kind of just talking about Pasa. We don't play a lot of like I love Metro, but Metro's not very memorable, right? That it's sort of just like out there. It's like it's memorable because you have private jets landing. It's memorable because on 10 you're hitting it like the plane silo. But it's not like the golf course is like super memorable. Where I thought Eagle Vines was that. And again, like I think that we walked, but a tee time on a holiday for $77 with a cart, that's pretty hard to beat, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely not a course you really want to walk though. Just the walk from the second hole to the third hole is maybe I said half a mile. I don't know if it's half a mile, but it's pretty fucking far, and it's not something you really want to do. There's just a lot of weird long walks where the halfway house is at hole 8 at the end of hole 8. It's a bit awkward, and I think that's not a testament. It's a function of the whole situation with the creation of a new front 8. The greens very, very hard. It was nice in some ways to think of it and make an excuse of like, oh, this is like Bandon Prep where we have to land it a lot shorter. It's nothing like Bandon, obviously, but there is that. Do you remember that Chumbawamba song, Tub Thumpin'? Yeah, I get knocked. I mean, those greens were tub thumping the whole time. They would just thump, tub thump, tub thump, and yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. It's definitely in my book not as good as Chardonnay. The conditions are good. The front 8 I think is great. The back 10, excuse me, a little tired. You can definitely tell it needs some work to be done. The bunkers are just not as in good a condition. But there are some memorable holes. I mean, 12, which is this weird little short par 4 where you have to lay up unless you go for it. But then if you go for it, you're blocked out by the green being angled in a certain way away from the river with a bunker protecting it. I mean, there's just a lot of like things that were actually kind of cool about it. Just the overall feel, though, made you not really want to enjoy the course or like the course as much as I think it could be enjoyable. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think also, apologies for the camera. I have no clue what's going on. But I think it's also really helpful. Like, I'm really happy that I got to experience it in a 36 hole day. Because again, Hussey and I are trying to get prepared for Bandon. So we walked 36 holes. We played a 36 hole match, and we did Eagle Vines and Chardonnay. And that is such a pleasant day. I mean, it's just beautiful all day, cold in the morning, warm in the afternoon. But this is not meant to shoot Eagle Vines in the face. But I think the other thing it did is it made me realize just how special of a golf course Chardonnay is. Because again, I've played there a bunch. I played there like 4 or 5 times. And I just don't remember being like, I think you actually joked on the par 3 number like 12, 11. You were like, did they like come in and like redo the greens and like make them crazier? Like, we have a good memory for courses we've played, and it just felt like the greens were, in a fun way, really turned up. Like, number 6 is like a downhill dogleg par 4. And like that is one of like the craziest greens I can't even describe to y'all. It looks like an amoeba. And the pin is like all the way in the back up this ridge, and it's like in a bowl, but like it wasn't quite fast enough to feed off the bowl. So like Pussy and I both had like 7-footers that broke a ton, and like I don't know, it was just like really, really stimulating. And so to have those two golf courses side by side with like firm greens, interesting greens, good conditions, like what do we spend? Like $110 for to play 36 holes? Like, sign me the fuck up for more of that. Like it was just such a stimulating day. And again, Eagle Vines is great on its own, but Eagle Vines to compare it to Chardonnay, just view it as it's essentially a 36 hole property. And like, what a cool, like, it's just cool when two golf courses, you can tell they're siblings, but they're definitely distinctly their own, right?
That's 100%. And this is almost, I almost went into like a diatribe following you up with like, dude, hole number 6 or Chardonnay. Like, this is not about Chardonnay. That's the issues. We keep like coming back to Chardonnay after playing Eagle Vines because that's our frame of reference. And I think that's because,
for context, guys, on number 2T at Chardonnay, you are looking at the clubhouse of Eagle Vines. Like, I mean, you can't totally get away from it. Like, you're on 3 and you're looking into the property at Eagle Vines. Like,
yeah,
if you're on the same.
Number 8 at Chardonnay, if you have pulled a tee shot on that par 3, which our buddy Jack has done multiple times and has played from the Eagle Vine side of the property over back into Chardonnay, like they're kissing cousins, really. I mean, they're just they're
Jack, you know that's OB, right? Like, no, I found it. I found it. Yeah, you're on the other side of the fence on the other. No, I found it.
Hey, yeah, Jack. No, they're Siamese twins. That's what they are. They're joined at the head.
John Rom at Riv, they're like, "Hey, Rom, it's in the TV tower." He's like, "Oh, I found it. It's in the TV tower. I get a free drop, right? I win. I get a free drop."
Well, he did win, so yeah, he did. That's right. Overall, I think Eagle Vines, some really cool holes. The conditions, I'm very impressed by the greens. Made it a lot fun. Yeah. I wish they were sure. I was a little confused by how hard they were, but how not fast they were, and I thought we could roll things off of slopes. I think it's 13, which is kind of a longish par 4, but the green is like a funnel green, and the pin was in the front. And I've seen again our good friend Jack hole out on that hole because you land it halfway
right at the flag stick. Right?
Yeah, no,
the flag stick on,
dude. It's an incredible green that you land it halfway up the green, and your ball, if the pin is in the front, will most likely scare the hole. And I remember Jack put it in, after hitting out of the rough there. You hit the pin. I mean, there's some really great things about that course. Is it worth $80? Sure. Sure.
It'd be great if it was 60, but
Sure. And if their range was a little longer, and if the walks weren't as long, and
I was hitting driver. I didn't even realize I wasn't supposed to.
yeah. But
We should give a huge shout out, just a massive shout out to the guy in front of us, who there's again this like quote unquote island par three. They just had the pin in like an absolute sucker hole location. And look, this guy almost made a hole in one. Like truly, I've seen balls almost go in. It's as close to a hole in one as I've ever seen.
yeah.
But then he proceeded to have his playing partner, who we know he didn't know, it's not his buddy, take a video of him tapping in for birdie. And like, he was holding up a one, but like, it should have been a two.
Yeah.
Like, there were a lot of questions or something. I was like, yo, actually, I'm like super out on this because like, it's a great shot, but like, it's a birdie. Like, unless it's, and he was a good enough player, it wasn't his first birdie. But that was tough. The one hole I gotta shout out though is at 16. The the quote unquote drivable par four is such a cool hole. I've thought more about it. Is that
15.
right?
15.
Like, can you tell people about 15? How's he like 15?
Yeah,
is a fucking cool hole.
Yeah, it's well, the tee shot is elevated. It's like a chute, and to your left, bottom left is vineyards, and to the right is kind of the shelf, and it's like a dog leg. How would you describe it? It's like a hockey stick, really. I mean, it's a
I was going to call it
straightaway.
it's like a crescent moon sort of.
Yeah, exactly, like a boomer. It's not boomerang, not like a soft boomerang. Okay, and then you've got bunkers all along the right, and then the green, and the whole kind of dog legs to the left. And if you want to go for it, you can. You just got to make sure you hit your drive at least 250, 260 to clear the vineyard. And because in many ways, vineyard is water when you're playing at a wine country golf course, except if you're at Wente, which we'll not go into that. And so it's actually a very hard decision to make. It's like, do you hit driver and kind of have a scruffy chip out of some, out of a weird lie, or do you just kind of bang a 8-iron to the right shelf and then hit a wedge in? And I think we all went for it because fuck it, why not?
Yeah, it's good. And again, I don't know. I'm not trying to blame. I don't think the original architects are probably thinking like this would be a good kind of match play crescendo, but it is. And then you go to like a very challenging par three with water on the left, and I don't know. It's just like the way, even though the back nine is quote unquote worse, or the back last 10 are a little sleepier, 15, 16, 17, 18 is a pretty solid finish. Or 17 is a little sleepy, but like 15, 16, and 18 are really good finishing holes. And again, like definitely there was a pendulum swing back and forth in our match, and that's just really good design. So yeah, like I've said, we're not like, unless there's a golf course that we play that like absolutely blows our doors off, we're not going to do the full blown course review, and we're probably going to get rid of the whole like how are the greens, how are the amenities. Like if y'all want to know about courses, please DM us. But again, I just played it with Hussy. We literally did we did this yesterday, so I thought it was worth mentioning because, yeah, I mean, Eagle Vines is a place I'd love to go back to. And if you can, what'd you call our match? The Wine Country Showdown. If you want to have your version of Wine Country Showdown and do a 36-hole match, go do it up there. Just wonderful. And also give them a shout out. We've done a full pod about Chardonnay in the past. Go listen to it. Super nice people invited us out, like just a really incredible, friendly staff. And also that we really appreciate is our buddy Brandon hurt himself and couldn't come play. And I thought that was going to be what we're used to, is usually they're like, oh, well, cool. Then you're going to pay for him. And that's what it is. I told him Brandon couldn't make it. And the guy was like, whatever, man, it's all good. And so I just appreciate that, because like we weren't trying to screw him over. Tee times are hard to get, but appreciate that customer service, and also appreciate the 24-ounce White Claws, which Hussy and I have been walking all day, and let's just say that two White Claws kind of put us on our ass.
Dude,
Back of the Chardonnay opens.
it's actually a really good reminder of when we go to Bandon that like
Gotta be careful.
got to be very careful. You got to hydrate the whole time because
Yeah.
man, we had food too. We had lunch and
I had two massive sandwiches that day.
It's and a 24-ounce White Claw kind of just got me a little bit.
And when I felt it, I was like 16 ounces in. I had like half it, and I was like, "Do you think they're clear? Do you think their card's gone?" Like, oh shit.
All right, dude. I have to pee very bad.
No, we're
we're done, right?
keeping that in. We're done.
No, it's fine.
We're done.
It's
No,
true.
that's all we
beers.
had to say, guys. Hussy has to pee. We had to say everything. Hussy, thanks for coming on, and I'm sure we'll chop it up about Bandon very soon here. Okay.
I look forward to it.
I go to the bathroom.